Network transformation with SDN and NFV is no easy task for CSPs, especially when they start deploying at scale. Fuchao, thanks for joining us again on TelecomTV. You presented research to the OpenStack community here at the Berlin Summit based on China Mobile's large-scale field trials. First of all, what was the extent of the trials? What sort of area are we talking about?
The field trial, actually, we call that as a NovaNet experiment network. It is a national experiment network. Currently, it covers like 4 provinces in China. We have 7 data centers included. It begins actually back into 2016. At that time, it was 3 provinces, but now we have that kind of scale.
And what about the architecture? What was the trial architecture?
We actually basically want to test the future network for China Mobile. We hope that it could be a test bed, that we could have the new technologies always be tested in this experiment network. So for phase 1, phase 2, which just finished middle of this year, we're actually focusing more on NFV and SDN, on details of the virtualized infrastructure, manual SDN controllers, different VNFs, including the core network, including BRAS, virtual CPE, a lot of different services.
And OpenStack was an integral part of the trial?
Of course, of course.
So what about some of the results that you learned? What did you learn about deploying multi-vendor OpenStack?
We actually have like more than 10 vendors actually being tested in this environment. And we have the testing including functional testing, performance testing, availability testing, system level testing a lot. And you try to see what kind of, you have the comparison between different vendors, you know whether they are good at, what they are bad at. We see that the functional testing, most of the vendors, they are quite good actually. So that means that almost the OpenStack is mature enough at functional level, but some major difference actually comes to the performance level that we do have some hard time with that. Vendors actually have gained a lot of experience in these field trials, try to tune the whole system and make it work much better to fit into the requirements for operators. And also we have much high availability requirements for these OpenStack infrastructure. For example, we require that they may have your high availability for VMs and hypervisors and all that. This is something that is not actually from the open source OpenStack, and vendors have to do more things there.
And what about the challenges of integrating OpenStack with SDN controllers?
That is actually a quite big problem actually for us. SDN controllers, we consider that in our future network because we expect that it could provide us with a more flexible network. But and also the problem is when you bring in the SDN controllers, you are bringing an actual vendor. They could be different with the OpenStack vendors. And that is a problem because the SDN controller should integrate it with the OpenStack, like the OpenStack Neutron, and also the virtual switch they're using in your hypervisor. We are figuring out that when SDN controller is integrating with the OpenStack Neutron, the problem is not that big because it is a like open source plugin. Everybody is using that. That's fine. But the major problem actually exists when you are integrate the SDN controller with the switch. They are like you have OpenFlow, you have OVSDB there. But then you realize that all different vendors, they have our own proprietary development, all these different fancy things, but you put them together, there are conflicts. So that actually takes a lot of efforts to do so.
Were there any other key findings that you discovered as a result of the trials that are relevant to other CSPs?
Yeah, I actually try to share 10 lessons that I actually learned from these experiment network, including like what I just said about the NFV, SDN, and also some experience about what kind of testing you actually should do for the VNFs since they are virtualized, what kind of testing you actually do if you want to observe your OpenStack, whether it could fit into the requirements for telco. And also, is the different virtual network functions mature enough? Is core mature? Is the edge mature? And also, like, what's the difference between core and edge, a lot of these different lessons.
So what happens next? How can these insights help China Mobile with its ongoing transformation, new network work, and also how can they benefit the broader community?
To China Mobile, actually, will begin this network because we realize that this is a totally new technology, new architecture, and we have to have some real experiment network, not only for us to figure out the major problems, but also for our operating people to learn about the new network, know how to operate this brand new virtualized thing. And also, these things we figure out, they actually cannot just be solved by China Mobile. They should be collaborating this open source community. Let the community help us solve some of the integration problem, like NFV and SDN or something. Yeah, that's why sharing that in this community.
We all benefit as a community from sharing these results. But for now, Fu Chao, thank you very much for joining us again on TelecomTV.
Thank you.